speakers this evening. So they will be talking about Rosie Camanga and the Filipino tattoo artist from Hawaii. So I'd like to call on, well, later, we will have a video presentation first. So I'd like to call on Dr. Remollino and tattoo artist Tito Gavina to talk about Rosie Camanga and the Filipino tattoo artist of Hawaii. So, but before that, let's play the video. Alright. Thank you.
Ready, bro?
I just want to give a round of applause to Jeffrey for making this happen. I didn't believe that I'd be able to show tattoos in the consulate, but here we are. Also, I want to give a shout out to Ed Hardy for producing this book, to even have the archive of sharing Filipino American history. So shout out to Ed Hardy for even making this book to share with people. And he's really important tattoo. Does everyone know who Ed Hardy is? Okay, so he published books and kind of moved tattooing forward. But I guess today we're just going to highlight Rosie Camanga and the work that he put out there. And I remember when I first bought the book, I was just pursuing tattooing. That's 2012, just looking through books. I was into Japanese art, but then I found a book where it was like, whoa, there's an older Filipino tattooer in a book. But when I looked at the drawings, I was like, why does it look like a kid drew it? So when you look at the drawings, you kind of realize the magic's in the drawing of his personality. So from that, I've been trying to share the history of Rosie Camanga to the Filipino people that I knew, or that wanted to get the book and get that tattoo, because it is part of tattoo culture and tattoo history for Filipinos. It's not just, I know the patterns really matter, but this is also a history too, being a Filipino American, showcasing that and letting people know that, we did traditional tattoos, not only tribal tattoos. So from that, I just wanted to give a shout out to Rosie Camanga and the art that he pushed out there, because if you look at it, it's really inspiring to see.
And just as a note for the copies of the flash book are going around right now. So you can go through them, kind of rifle through the pages, take a deep look or good look at some of the designs that Rosie Camanga produced. And just a note from Jeff, this is coming from Jeff's collection, by virtue of a donation from another tattoo artist. And so when you are finished with the book, please place them over on the tables over at the entrance. But for now, as we're talking, please feel free to look through them. And like Tito was saying, and just to kind of identify Tito kind of properly, right? Tito Gavina is a Filipino American tattoo artist who tattoos at Golden Star Tattoo Company here in Chinatown in San Francisco. And he has sort of made it his, one of his passions to share and kind of disseminate these designs. I'm also kind of a holder of one of those designs as well, as those scorpion on my forearm. And it speaks to the kind of broader history and presence of Filipino migrant tattooers and Filipino American artists in this longer history of popular culture in the United States. So we're all familiar with the relationship that the United States and the Philippines had coming from the Philippine American War, right, the kind of legacy of the US colonialism that brought Filipinos to the Hawaiian Islands and the United States as laborers, as students, as migrants. And one of the populations of folks that attempted to kind of make a living, eke out a living under these larger structures of imperialism and colonization were Filipino American artists, right, who were kind of engaged in this trans-Pacific industry of tattooing that in the early 20th century was kind of all the rage, right? The United States kind of popular cultural industry was trying to cash in on this craze in Americana designs, right? These bold black lines, these primary colors, these images and symbols of like the Navy, pinup girls, right, roses and religious imagery. Now, Rosie stands as this model for somebody that is taking this iconography, taking this kind of this symbology, and adding his own experiences directly to the designs, right, altering them in ways that added like caravans, that added Filipino-specific kind of referential imagery. But he's not. Oh yes, please.
Also, when he writes things, it's like my husband, my wife. It's like just looking at the front of the cover, you could just feel like it's super Filipino because he wrote it in a way where how he would read and write. So throughout his book, it's like I think the subtle things about the book is when you read what he writes. So there's like a story in that also.
And being able, thank you Tito for that important note, right? Being able to kind of embody the language of kind of Filipino English vernacular is an important aspect of that cultural exchange, and that cultural mediation. But even while Rosie stands as like this model for this, the Filipino Americans' place in the tattoo industry, he's not alone, right? Rosie's tattooing in the 1930s all the way through to the post-war period. We're not quite sure like when he passes away. Speculation in the 1980s, 1990s. But in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, this is a period where dozens of other Filipino American tattooers, Filipino and Filipina tattooers are engaged in this industry in the United States, in Hawaii, and in the Pacific coast of California. And they're really shaping the cultural industry of tattooing. They're directly influencing the trajectory, the kind of form that that's taking in this Americana style. And so when we think about kind of the translation of heritage across diaspora, when we think about the ways in which culture is kind of transmuted because of migration, then we can make the argument, and I among some other historians made this argument, that Filipino Americans were central to the development of the Americana style in the 1920s and 30s, right? A style that has been attributed historically, because of several reasons, to white male artists, right? But really, the teachers of these men were Filipino and Filipino American artists.
Can I stop a little bit? So, like, in one of Ed Hardy's books, it was, I think it was Lou the Jew, like, his coming to America from the Philippine War, it said that he learned how to tattoo in the Philippines, then he came back here. So, like you said, like, the connotations of, like, the Filipino-American War kind of possibly helped shape America. I don't want to say like that, but more like it was influence from him going there and him getting that style to learn how to tattoo, to even tattoo in the States from the Philippines.
Absolutely, right? And so it kind of speaks to this longer history of cultural exchange, and it also speaks to the idea that Filipino American artists, Philippine-based artists who are tattooing, who are kind of merging these styles, are performing this type of cultural labor, right? And it's labor that has gone unacknowledged for a long time. And partially again because of the way that historians kind of talk about these larger histories of tattooing. And so yeah, Rosie Camanga again stands as this exemplar, perhaps this model of this dynamic. But he's not alone, right? Like newspapers all over Oahu in the 1920s and 30s are, citing this sort of panic that there are so many Filipinos tattooing in Oahu's Chinatown that it's starting to become a problem, right? And so that speaks to the efficacy, the pervasiveness, and the power that Filipino American artistic labor has had and continues to have, as we can see from all of us gathered here for this exhibit and the films that we're about to see.
Well, yeah, contribution of tattooing from Filipinos is really important to me in the American style because we have a lot of tattooers, like even Leo Zulueta, you know, he like pushed tattooing forward. A lot of Filipino Americans, like even orally, like the styles of like Polynesian or even Isaiah, Soul Signature, like pushing that Polynesian style along with Leo to what it is today. And then, yeah, you know, like we've been like part of it. Like even Regino Gonzalez is like the guy who did my back. He's been tattooing since the 90s. You just gotta give flowers to the people who've been putting in the work. We've been out there tattooing, you know. So I just want to give them their flowers. I mean, also with Rosie Camanga, I kind of think of them when I tattoo, just because it's like a lineage of the American experience as a tattooer, Filipino. And yeah, that's just giving them the flowers.
And it's also like to know more or get a little bit more perspective in Tito's and Jeff's words on kind of this idea of kind of Filipino American experiences and contributions to tattoo culture. Mahalaya newspaper, there are some copies for free for you to take home. There's an article there that talks a little bit more about some of this dynamic that might add a little bit of generative sort of supplements to what we're kind of engaging with today.
Okay, yeah, and I guess to end it off, just like want to say thanks to Taki for even reproducing this book, because it's, I used to, people would ask me, Ed Hardy also, it's Hardy Marks, it's his name, so I want to make sure Ed Hardy gets his credit, because those are the guys who put in the work for us to even have an archive of history, to even put Filipino names, like the involvement of that. So yeah, thanks to them for republishing this book. Like, there was a time that these books cost like $400. And then I'm like, hey dude, I'm gonna give you this book, and like people would ask me if I could get it for them because it would be hard. Like not everyone had this book, so like you would have to buy it off tattooers, and tattooers are hustlers, so they're like, all right, we'll just sell this book for like $400, you know. But now it's cheaper than $40. There you go.
Yeah, and I think with that, we can conclude. I don't know exactly if there was anything that you wanted us to add. Okay, so again, some things to think about as we engage with these two films. And yeah, thank you all for coming, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of our event.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gavina and Tito Gavina for their talk on the work of Rosie Camanga. It's reading the arts. Just doing a scan of his book, or you really know how really deep the culture of tattooing among Filipinos and Filipino Americans are here in the United States. So thank you very much for the reminder of our deep heritage, our deep connection with Filipino tattoo arts.
Could you talk a little bit more about how your experience sort of encountering Rosie for the first time? What thoughts came to you? Like, why did you think Rosie was important, and then kind of what led you to start to offer these flash designs?
Well, I got this book, the Rosie Camanga book, about in 2012. Before then, I wasn't even tattooing yet. I just kind of started, but I stumbled upon it at a bookstore, a Japanese bookstore in San Jose, and then I just flipped through it, and I saw an older Filipino dude, and I'm like, wow. This is cool. Also, I think I just started doing like flash specials of Rosie Camanga just to let people know of his awareness or like of what he's done or like just his style. Like I think I started doing that in like 2017. Just like doing like, I think at the first time I'm like, oh, it's Asian Pacific Islander Month or something like that. I forgot the
API Heritage.
Yeah. And then I did it, and then like I had a few people get tattooed. I'm like, oh shit, this is cool. And they were Filipinos, and they were like, oh, I'd never seen his work before. And from that, I just kept on doing every year where if it was like an Asian type history month, I would just do a flash sale, you know what I mean? And then like the colonization of the Philippines, like they migrated to Hawaii and started tattooing also. And I looked up that history of like Domingo Galang, and that lineage goes through Rosie in a way where like all these Filipinos in Chinatown were tattooing. So not only were we just tattooing, we were like known for it over there.
Tattoo industry in the Americana style. So by the 19 teens, you see Filipinos opening up their own shops in Honolulu, Chinatown. You see characters emerging who become these sort of icons of Filipino tattooing. Ignacio Felicio, Domingo Galang, Martina Yagyagan, right, who are not only establishing themselves within the tattoo industries in Hawaii, within the tattoo cultures of Hawaii, tattooing what becomes associated with the Americana style, but also traveling between Honolulu, Los Angeles, San Francisco.
I thought that was like really important to share with people because, you know, people believe that tattooing, Filipino tattooers are only doing tribal, you know, or like pattern work. But no, we've been tattooing like Americana, or not even Americana, who knows? It's like, we call it Americana because we're in America.
Right.
But it's that kind of style of tattooing for a really long time, like 1900s, early turn of the century type stuff. And like from the books, like, you know, discussing with you because you got the PhD and you could get all the history and all that stuff and decipher everything in a way where I can't explain, but also everything makes sense on how we've helped push tattooing. Where
Rosie Camanga also symbolizes is that Filipino artists, Filipino American tattooers have always been a part of U.S. tattoo history, U.S. tattoo culture. And Filipino American tattoo history is U.S. history.